joining us with your perspective on this big story. Moving on now, Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei has issued a sharp attack on the United States of America, declaring that America must and will leave the region. Speaking in Tehran, Khamenei accused US President Donald Trump of lying about seeking peace while backing violence across the Middle East. Khamenei called Trump's Gulf statements an embarrassment and said the US is using its power to fuel conflict, not peace. He also criticized Washington's strategy as one that promotes dependence amongst Gulf nations. Here's what Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei had to say.
Trump گفت که میخواد از قدرت برای صلح استفاده کنه. دروغ گفت. ایشون و مسئولان آمریکایی، دولت‌های آمریکا از قدرت استفاده کردن برای قتل عام غزه، برای جنگ افروزی در هر جایی که بتوانند، برای حمایت کردن از
Meanwhile, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has also spoken out, questioning Trump's intentions, saying that on one hand he tells you he wants peace, on the other he threatens you with advanced weapons. Here's what the Iranian president said.
حرفایی رو زد که غیر از خودش شاید کسی نتونه باور بکنه و تهدیدایی رو که برای ما مثلا میزنم. از یه طرف از صلح حرف میزنه، میگه ما میخوایم در منطقه صلح باشه، از یه طرف میگه ما ابزاری درست کردیم که این ابزار تو دنیا نمیدونم وحشتناک نابود میکنه. کدوم یک از حرف این رئیس جمهور رو ما باید قبول کنیم؟ پیام صلحش رو یا پیام کشتار و نابودی انسانها رو؟
Pezeshkian also said that Iran will keep negotiating, rejecting war and threats. He stressed that Iran will not surrender its military, academic or nuclear progress despite pressure.
ما داریم مذاکره میکنیم و مذاکره خواهیم کرد. ما تو مال جنگ نیستیم، اما از هیچ تهدیدی نمیترسیم. این گونه نیست که اینا تصور کنند اگر ما رو تهدید بکنن ما از اون حقوق انسانی و حق مسلم خودمون پاپس خواهیم کشید. ما پاپس نمیکشیم. ما دستاوردهای پر افتخار نظامی رو، دانشگاهی رو، علمی رو، هسته‌ای رو در تمام جنبه‌ها به این سادگی از دست نخواهیم داد. به هیچ سادگی از دست نخواهیم زد. گفتنش ساده است، حالا با اون خطراتی که
This comes even as tensions escalate over nuclear talks. Trump has claimed Iran has received a US proposal, but Tehran denies it. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says no such document has been given. Trump has warned that something bad is going to happen if Iran doesn't act fast on the nuclear deal. Despite the standoff, Iran, though, says talks will continue, but it will not give up its enrichment rights. Keith Vaz, former UK minister, is joining us live from London. Keith Vaz, what do you make of these comments by the Iran leadership on United States President Donald Trump and his latest statements?
Good afternoon, Nuday from London. It's a very confusing picture. On the one hand, President Trump said, admittedly on Air Force One, on his way back to the United States following his visit to the Gulf states and Saudi Arabia, that a proposal had been sent to Iran. As you correctly said, the president has said that no such proposal is with the Iranians, and therefore there's nothing to consider. And then you have the response of President Trump saying they've got very short period of time to respond before there is the possibility of airstrikes against Iran. So it is a very confusing picture as to who said what to whom. I think it would be surprising if there was a proposal, if the Iranian Supreme Leader, President and Foreign Minister are all saying they don't have a proposal. So somewhere along the line, President Trump thinks there was a proposal, but the Iranians think that there wasn't a proposal. But whoever is right, they need to get on with it, given the threat, the serious threat that President Trump has made. I don't think that he has suggested starting airstrikes against any other country. So this is obviously something that needs to be dealt with as quickly as possible. It's worth remembering, of course, a checkered history on President Trump's part as far as Iran is concerned. He torpedoed the deal that was going to be or had been negotiated by former President Obama, and therefore he's now in a situation where he's going to consider it again. So somebody needs to get on and start the negotiations, otherwise there's going to be a huge misunderstanding.
Yes, absolutely. Keith Vaz, also have to ask you, where does this leave the talks between Iran and the US and this proposed deal? Is this a setback to it?
I mean, we don't know, and that's the whole point. They've been using Oman, who's been an honest broker and interlocutor between the United States and Iran. Oman is trusted by both countries, very friendly towards the West, and also friendly towards the Iranian authorities. So they have been used as back channels, if you like. As so often, Turkey has now become the center of all these negotiations that are going on. The Turks are not involved, but the Omanis are. So this is an opportunity to get that relationship going and get it started, because it's very important that it should be done as quickly as possible. So the Omanis, I noticed the fact, and your viewers would have noticed the fact that President Trump didn't go to Oman on his recent visit to the Middle East, but they are obviously playing an important part in trying to get the sides together. So if there is going to be anything like a deal, and the President, of course, likes the word a deal, then the negotiations need to start pretty quickly. I'm sure it'll all end with a handshake, or that's what he wants in Tehran. I think he wants to be the first president to visit there for many years. He likes being the first president to do things. But that's not going to happen unless there is a proposal, either through the Omanis or directly through the Iranians, that can be studied and brought to a fruition.
Absolutely. And, do you believe that at the end of the day, of course, Iran has made its position, though, very clear as far as their nuclear program is concerned? Would that then be, a kind of deal breaker, if we can call it that?
Yes, you're right, Uday. They've always maintained this. This is not a new position, that the enrichment is for the benefit of their people, not for any aggressive stance against any other country. They also make the point that when President Trump visited the Middle East, he talked about being a peacemaker, but he sold an awful lot of arms to everybody, billions and billions of dollars worth of arms. So what Iran is saying is, we're not going to use this anyway as an aggressor. We're not going to use it against other countries. It is for the benefit of our own people. And I think they're saying, and the current position is, that they don't mind checks being made by UN personnel, but that's got to be part of a wider package that will allow some kind of line to be drawn over this issue. So there is a lot to talk about. I think the Omanis are going to be kept very busy over the next few weeks if there is going to be any progress. As always, this was a throwaway comment made on Air Force One by President Trump, and we would not be surprised that if tomorrow it then suddenly changed and everyone worked out that actually there wasn't a proposal after all. Who knows? American foreign policy is obviously these days being made on a jumbo jet. So we'll have to wait to see what happens at the end.
All right. My final question then to Keith Vaz.